Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 4093. Yeah, 4093. Wait, yeah, 4093, 4093 or 4094. I'm not really sure. All right. Today's date is June 10, 2026. It's been almost like a night at 10:44 p.m. Okay, first of all, is that I was kind of like expecting monsoon should supposed to be come till this date. Okay, but right now monsoon came little bit late. The weather forecast kind of like a saying that like monsoon already hit to the India. By the way, it's actually on the Kerala, Tamil Nadu, South India. I live in Maharashtra. I live in kind of like a some central part of India. So it says that end of this month, like probably like 2024, like 2025, in that particular period of time might be kind of like a something experience a kind of like a monsoon. So still almost like a 2 weeks are still remaining. Okay, I'm eagerly waiting for the monsoon. And also another thing is that like basically because of the El Nino. Okay, uh, because of El Nino we might not face that much monsoon, like probably might not get that much rain probably. Like usually is this thing that where I live, like I live in Maharashtra, India, and specifically Vardha, and usually we get rain from like basically July. Okay, yeah, end of June, July, and then after that kind of like a month it will be dry, and then September. Okay, so beginning of the monsoon and end of the monsoon is a kind of like a very heavy monsoon actually happening, heavy rain actually happen, and in between part of those rainy season it's just very like the intensity of that rain was less. Okay, so but like this year because of the super El Nino we might face very less rain, less monsoon. So that's the kind of like a some like like it. I'm not a farmer, by the way. Okay, like my productivity does not really affect by the rain, but still I'm living in India, almost like a 80 65, sorry, 60% of the population are kind of like a completely depend upon agriculture, and Indian agriculture is completely depend on rain. So that is a kind of like a big challenge. Okay, yeah, whatever. So let's just jump to the question. All right, let's go. All right, so question is, wait, where is the question? Okay, what problem can I solve instead of complaining about it? Okay, that's a really good question. Okay, first of all, what exactly is this question and why am I asking this question to myself? I read a book, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. Okay, by Steve Covey, Steve Covey, Steve Covey, Steve Covey. Wait, who is the author of Steve Covey? I wait. Seven Habit of Highly. Stephen Covey. Stephen Stephen Covey. Covey. Stephen Covey. Okay, sorry about the kind of like a spell pronunciation. Stephen Covey. 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 Stephen Covey. Okay, so this is a kind of like a book I read, and basically it's this thing that I wanted to implement the value that book taught me. So I went to ChatGPT and kind of like a suggest that I read this book, suggest me at least like a 20. I wanted to implement the value, suggest me 20 question. ChatGPT kind of like a suggest me 20 question. This is one of those question. Okay, now regarding about the question is that what problem can I solve instead of complaining about it? Okay, what problem can I able to be solved? Okay, first of all, there is a kind of like a simply that key. The problem is kind of like a something very different according to the person, according to the scenario. Okay, so I'm kind of like explain some sort of problem I already face. Okay, and what exactly action that I took. Okay, instead of complaining about it, what kind of action do I take? Okay, so basically one of my biggest problem is that key masturbation. Okay, masturbation is a kind of like a something that habit that I cultivated. I'm not really cultivated, but yeah, it happened. Okay, once in a week it's actually happening. Okay, let me tell you, I am being masturbated for almost like when I was at the age of 18, 19 probably. Okay, at that time I realized that when you just kind of like a move your nunu move your nunu, you kind of like a feel really excited. I don't know at that time it masturbation or things and that. Okay, uh averagely, my masturbation gap from like I'm kind of like I'm still masturbating, by the way. Okay, yeah. The one of the biggest problem is that ki society and everyone kind of like a telling me that masturbation is wrong, do not do the masturbation if you wanted to achieve your goals, success and things. Masturbation is only one thing that you have to quit right now and things and that. And I wanted to achieve my success, so I always kind of like somebody associate that ki I might not gonna achieve success until and unless if I stop the masturbation. And trust me, I try to stop masturbation and I fail very miserably. I took 21-day challenge, I took kind of like a multiple challenge, but yeah. So basically is this thing, this is a kind of like some problem. Okay, so how I supposed to be solve the problem? Okay, so let me tell you one thing, what how I supposed to solve the problem. Okay, so first of all is that ki masturbation is not a disease, is not a kind of like a something that ki you have to be recover from it. No, masturbation is a natural cycle, and it happened, and it meant to be happen, and it's not a wrong thing. It's a kind of like a somewhat something that ki you have a hormone, those are hormone kind of like a release and things and that. Okay, the important thing is that ki you have to be control the masturbation, means like that ki instead of kind of like a doing every single day, make sure you have to control like a basically once in a week and things and that. Right now my masturbation cycle is 5 days. Okay, like after the 5 day I masturbate. Okay, and like basically I cross 30, by the way, and after I cross 30 it doesn't really get me that much excited. Like basically what's kind of like a stuff new thing that I would supposed to be seen, nothing really at all. I saw so many stuff. I watch a lot of porn movies, by the way. So there is nothing really excites me that much. So probably sometime it kind of like it gets like a 5 days, 6 days of gap. Good. I'm kind of like a really good. And when I ejaculate after 5 days, I feel like I don't really feel kind of like a loss of energy. Nothing really at all. I'm good. I'm great. I make sure that I will masturbate during the night. During the day, I will try to hold, because during the night means like that ki like 11 p.m. or things and that. Okay, at that time you are cool, masturbate, then sleep for at least like a 7 hour, wake up, recharge, right? So basically is this thing that ki this is a kind of like a problem, and I was kind of like somebody thinking that ki I should supposed to be kill the problem, but that is not okay. Sometimes that is definitely not. This is how I control. Okay. Also, another thing, this is not just kind of like a it's not really that I just kind of like a do the gaps and things and that. It's not really kind of like as easy as you think it is. It's a way much difficult. First of all, is that I did a kind of like a couple of steps. First of all, kill the trigger. Usually is this thing that masturbation is a kind of like a happen because of you are kind of like experiencing something sexual triggerness. Example, like you are scrolling through social media platform Instagram, and suddenly in the feed you might kind of like a scene a kind of like a something a woman take a photo in a bikini or something like that, kind of like a something sexual photo. She's not naked by the way, but she is a the pose and things, the way that she kind of like a look little bit of sexy, which creates the trigger. Okay, yeah. And right now I live, or we are living in such a world where internet is everywhere. Okay, yeah. And watching a porn is not really that much difficult thing. Just like go to the incognito mode, turn on the VPN, and yeah, you have a lot of kind of like some stuff that you have. Okay, so basically what I was kind of like thinking that na ki I have to be kill the trigger. I have to be kill the trigger. So what I did, okay, I first of all I stopped accessing Instagram. Okay, in social media platform I access YouTube and Instagram. Facebook I didn't really access that much. Okay, like I didn't really know when did I kind of like last time I opened the Facebook, nothing really at all. So Facebook is completely gone. Okay, yeah. Social media platform, I have only two social media platform, YouTube and Instagram. WhatsApp is a social media platform too, but WhatsApp is a kind of like a very close group. Okay, yeah, like a basically is this thing, you will not gonna kind of like experience such a thing from WhatsApp that you haven't really knew it. So WhatsApp is not like a probably it's not. Specifically YouTube and Instagram. Now YouTube is a kind of like a really good regarding about all those things. In the YouTube platform, I watch a lot of YouTube video, and basically YouTube understand me that ki what kind of like a content I watch, and it kind of like a recommend me such a content that I love to watch. History, geography, science, physics, filmmaking, photography, movie explain, songs. Like basically it's this thing na ki on my previous history that whatever the kind of like a video that I watch on YouTube kind of like a recommend me such a video that I love to watch, and I click on it. YouTube does not kind of like a showing me such a kind of like a random video that's showing explicit video, nothing really at all. And YouTube have kind of like a very strong policy regarding about that sexuality and nudity and things and that you cannot able to be upload. Even if you are kind of like upload such a video, it does not kind of like a shown there is a community guidelines and violations and strikes and lot of stuff. So people never really kind of like simply upload that many sexual content on YouTube platform. Even if they kind of like a uploading, I haven't really experienced nothing really at all. My YouTube feed is always clean and always kind of like a showing me such a thing that I love to watch and things and that. Okay, so YouTube is okay. Okay, now let's talk about the Instagram. Instagram is a very toxic, by the way. Okay, now I try to stop using Instagram, but it doesn't really work at all. Okay, so basically what I did, okay, instead of using Instagram, accessing Instagram through Instagram application, I started using Instagram on Chrome browser. Okay, and I kind of like a get massive advantage. Okay, yeah. First of all is that key. First of all, I started using Digital Wellbeing. Digital Wellbeing is a kind of like a application where you could kind of like open Instagram for 5 minutes, and after that it automatically close. But still, it's a kind of like a very addictive kind of like assembly process. Still kind of like some Instagram is a kind of like a very addictive kind of like a things. So at the beginning I was kind of like using the digital well-being, but then after that I just quit it and I started using Instagram on Chrome browser, and I kind of like get very massive advantage. Let me kind of like tell you. In the application, app runs so smoothly, like literally so smooth. Okay, like every feed load really fast, every reel load really fast. You don't really have to wait anything at all. You just click it and you can kind of like open up profile picture or whatever it is. It just load everything so smoothly, so fast, and things and that. Okay, but in the Chrome browser it's kind of like a very laggy experience. Okay, like basically you cannot able to be scroll reel on Chrome browser. You might gonna see the reel, it's not like that you might not gonna see the reel, but the after you might one or two reel you might gonna scroll very easily, but after a 5 6 reels you cannot scroll that. It kind of like give very jittery and very laggy experience. Okay. Okay. Also, let me tell you one thing now. I am actually using a kind of like assembly phone. Is a Poco X7 Pro. Okay, which is a kind of like a mid-range phone, by the way. So that's why I might kind of like a getting the laggy experience. If you are using kind of like assembly iPhone or kind of like an expensive phone, you might not get that much jittery experience. Probably, I'm not really sure about that, but this is what I'm kind of like a thinking. Okay, so because of this jittery experience I cannot able to be scroll the reel. Okay, so reel section is completely like I cannot able to be access the reel. Like I can access, but it's not the kind of like I could able to be scroll that much. Nothing really at all. Okay, another thing is that key the smooth experience, I don't really get that much smooth experience on Chrome browser. It just kind of like a little bit of laggy. Another thing is that na the UI is not looking that much well in a Chrome browser. Like it look good, but still it's not really that much responsive, and it's not really that kind of like a things. Okay, so yeah, also is this thing you have to kind of like a reload every time, like basically yeah. So because of this thing it kind of like a help me to not to use that much Instagram. So because of this thing I didn't really stop Instagram. I stop using less of Instagram, which will kind of like add so much amount of value. And one thing I realized that na ki if you have a kind of like a wrong thing, wrong habit, or whatever the wrong thing, just try to minimize, try not to stop, because when you stop it there is a eagerness will rise. Okay, like if you are not getting a sleep, you are more kind of like a wanted to sleep. Okay, if you are not getting food you are getting more hungry. So this is what it is. Instead of kind of like a somebody killing the bad habit, I try to minimize the bad habit. Okay, so this is the step number 1. Step number 2 is that ki my Instagram feed is not a constant. Like basically my YouTube feed is always been constant. In the YouTube feed I always kind of like a YouTube kind of like a recommend me a video that I really love to watch. I never really kind of like a experiencing a kind of like a YouTube is kind of like a recommend me a such a video that I never really kind of like a seen, and things and that. But Instagram does not. Instagram kind of like a recommend me something really new, something really interesting, and things and that. And sometime you Instagram kind of like a recommend me some sort of kind of like some explicit kind of like a images of women. So so I have to be trained Instagram to not to show this thing. So whenever kind of like Instagram showing me, I kind of like those 3 dots I select not interested. That's it. Then that feed is actually gone. Okay, I whenever I kind of like see such a scene, click on it, not interested, click on it, those 3 dots, not interested. So because of this thing YouTube kind of like realize that okay, do not kind of like show that much kind of like some images regarding about that. So Instagram doesn't really show me that much. Okay, and I follow such a account that I love to kind of like explore like a filmmaking for photography and things and that. I follow those channel more. So basically Instagram is kind of like showing me such a content that I love to watch, and kind of like a filtered out such a content that I don't want to watch. Okay, so this is kind of like a really helpful for me to clear up my Instagram feed. So because of this thing, I have an Instagram, I can access Instagram, but I am accessing Instagram very less, almost less. Okay. Another thing that I cannot able to be access the reel because of the kind of like a Chrome. I'm actually access Instagram from Chrome browser. Another thing, I make my Instagram feed as much as clean so that it does not kind of like a showing me that many explicit kind of like a images and things and that. So because of all those things, I kind of like a remove all those kind of like a triggered point. I kill those triggered point, and which kind of like really helped me to control my masturbation. Okay, so basically this is how I kind of like solve the problem. Instead of kind of like solving the problem, I minimize the problem. Okay, like basically this thing, some people might gonna say this thing, dude, like you have to quit the masturbation things and that. I am gonna say yeah, you could able to be do this thing if you have that kind of like a potential, you could do this thing. I am not that particular person. I don't really have that much potential. I kind of like a something have, I am a human. I kind of like a did mistakes, and yeah, so I, instead of kind of like a quitting the masturbation, I minimize it. Okay, right now masturbating kind of like only once in a week, or kind of like a once in a 5 day. I'm okay with that thing. It's not really that I'm kind of like losing my energy or productivity or kind of like efficiency. I'm never really experienced at all. I am running for almost like a 5 year. I am never been sick. I'm kind of like a working non-stop. I get sleep very peacefully, sleeps 11 hour sleep. So I'm good. Okay, so basically this thing, yeah. So probably this is the kind of like a something that key stuff that I solve the problem. Okay, there are so many problems. Okay, so how like okay, like this is kind of like a problem number one. Okay, yeah, the kind of like a something that key masturbation. Okay, yeah, each person has a kind of like a different problem. Okay, how do you supposed to be solve the problem? I'm kind of like a taking another problem that I kind of like experience. Okay, what is exactly the problem? Okay, so being alone. Okay, let me tell you one thing. We are human, and our human evolution is actually goes through kind of like a something together. When we are kind of like a together, we are kind of like a feel really good and things and that. And most of the people are kind of like a living in this real world, this new world, this digital era, and in this thing we might not have friend. Let me kind of like tell you statistic. The 20 year ago, or maybe your parents, they have kind of like a lot more friend than yours. Okay, yeah, like basically your father or your mother, they have a kind of like a something that key 10 time friend than yours. Like if you have just one friend, your parents have 10 friends, or maybe more than that. If you have two friends, they have 20 friends. Like, yeah, this is kind of like a ratio. First of all is that why we have a kind of like a very less friend. Okay, why we have kind of like a very less friend. The reason is that why we have kind of like a very less friend is because of the internet, mobile phone, things and that. Previously is this thing that if we wanted to and if we wanted to get the entertainment, the only one source that we get the entertainment from our people, from neighbor, from specifically from friends and things and that. But since the kind of like mobile and internet came, we are more rely on mobile phone and things and that to kind of like something get entertained. So we don't really need another people. So that's why, yeah, like you actually experiencing this thing that when you travel through train, there are so many people are kind of like looking at their phone. They are not talking to each other. Like probably just elderly people are kind of like talking to each other, even the random stranger. but the kind of like somebody, the youth, they are not kind of like talking, they are just kind of like somebody put on the headphone and they are kind of like watching movies or whatever it is. Okay, so this is a kind of like a simply that key reason number one to not to have a friend. Reason number two, uh reason number two is that key basically is this thing that key we are getting so much amount of privacy. Okay, like privacy is a really good na. Yeah, privacy is really good, but the problem is that na it disconnect from the people. Example, most of people have kind of like their own room, their things and that 20 year ago, or maybe kind of like somebody just 20-30 year ago, these are kind of like not even a thing. Basically, like I'm talking about the Indian context point of perspective. I'm not really sure about the American and European point of perspective. I'm kind to tell you from Indian point of perspective that key in India, entire family are kind of like live together. They don't really have kind of like a special rooms and things and that and that and that. So most of the people are kind of like a sharing room or sharing kind of like yeah, sharing entire house. Okay, there is no kind of like some room is actually divided. So because of this thing, because of we are getting a privacy, we are not even talk to our kind of like a sibling. Yeah, because we have kind of like a separate rooms and things and that and that. Yeah, privacy, this is a kind of like a simply reason number second. Now reason number third why we have not having that many friend is because of that mostly is this thing that the 90% is kind of like a depend on the mobile phone. Okay, because when we have mobile phone, everything is kind of like a something connected, but we are kind of like a disconnected. Okay, but still this is kind of like a things that probably I might have a reason. Okay, so basically this is kind of like a problem that you are facing. Okay, yeah. So let's just imagine that ki you are kind of like a somebody, the maybe teenager or kind of like a particular person who is kind of like a doing a job and not having that much amount of people. Like I also experiencing this thing when I was kind of like a doing a job. I was kind of like a doing a job and I came home and I don't really have anything at all. I'm just kind of like alone at the room and things and that and that. So basically is this thing that ki how do I solve that problem. Okay, from my point of perspective, let me tell you, I am a very geeky kind of person. Okay, I I don't really like to kind of like somebody spend like that much amount of time to spend with the people. It's not really that ki I don't want to love to spend time with the people. I love to, but that eagerness I don't really have it. One of my friend Prashik has that thing. Prashik is a kind of like a very eager to kind of like a somebody wants to know. He's a kind of like a very social animal, and he's a kind of like a really wanted to talk to the people and things and that. He's really eager too. Okay, I am not that eagerness. Nothing really at all. Okay, so I was kind of like actually being alone since 2016 to 2020. I was kind of like doing a job and kind of like being really alone in the home in the kind of like a Nagpur city, in a big city. But I never really kind of like experiencing that much kind of like simply alone. Okay. Another thing is that from my point of perspective, I'm kind of like telling you, I am very much privileged regarding about I have a friend. Yeah, let me tell you one thing, I consider myself privileged that I have a friend. Because in today's world, having a friend is a kind of like a being really lucky, and I am that lucky person that I have a friend, and not just kind of like a one or two friend. I have kind of like a somebody almost like a 10 to 15 people. Okay, yeah. And we are kind of like still connected. We have all the group, WhatsApp group. Obviously, in today's world, everyone are getting married. We might not have a time and things and that, but whenever kind of like a things will gonna happen, like basically this October we are planning for Goa trips and things and that. So basically is this thing that key once in a year or kind of like a somebody twice in a year we kind of like a hang out and spend times, and we kind of like a feel really good. And every day there is a kind of like a someone is actually talking on the WhatsApp group, someone kind of like a somebody thinks that doing some stupid jokes. Yeah, I am consider myself that privileged, that I have kind of like a somebody friend. Okay. So from my point of perspective, being alone is not my problem that much. Okay. And I always kind of like a something that key fill that alone gap with a something that I love to do, like a kind of like a something. I am very geeky person too regarding about that key technology, regarding about things, regarding about doing stuff, and that I always have kind of like a some stuff to do. It's not really that key I am kind of like eager to call somebody and things and that, nothing really at all. So probably from my point of perspective, I don't really have like a being alone is not my problem. Okay, but this is just my point of perspective. Okay, yeah. From your point of perspective, you might feel that ki, this is a kind of like a some problem. So how should you supposed to be kind of like a solve this problem? Okay, yeah. Let me kind of like a tell you. Probably it's a kind of like a, I am not a kind of like a particular person to kind of like give you advice, but still from like a experience. Okay, so I'm gonna share. Okay, so um analyze where you are. Okay, yeah. If you are in the college, best time. You might have a kind of like a still time to make friend. If you are kind of like a doing a job and things and that, I'm not really sure, but this advice might gonna work for the people who are kind of like in the college, things and that. Okay, so if you are in the college, okay, what you have to do is that key, obviously you have kind of like a some certain group of people. Okay, because you are kind of like a living in the college, like you are kind of like in the college, you might have kind of like a people around you who are kind of like a same class doing a same study. So you might kind of like a have a couple of people, they are kind of like a somebody have like a classmate. So probably you have a kind of like a couple of people, consider might be they have kind of like a friend or things and that. So what I'm saying is that ki join their group, join the kind of like a things, or kind of like a, I don't know how do I supposed to things, like I know being a friend or kind of like a how do you supposed to make friend, it's a kind of like a very much difficult, like it's a bit really awkward to kind of like a somebody go directly into the someone groups and things and that. No, just like basically they are like a, like basically is this thing na ki, what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that ki in your kind of like a somebody college group of circle, okay, try to talk about something beside college, like basically is this thing that na ki, like okay, let me tell you what exactly what I'm trying to tell you. Okay, I am kind of like a suggest you something that ki probably, okay, I don't know, but okay, this is kind of like a somebody that ki like a, like okay, let me tell you one thing. Okay, I'm telling you from my point of experience. Okay, if you want to take it, take it. If you don't want, it's up to you, because I don't know you, I don't really understand your consequences, so I don't know you, so I'm telling you from my point of perspective. Okay, now we've been friends since 2011. Right now it's 2026, so we've been almost like a basically 15 years of relationship, 15 years of friendship of almost like a 9 to 10 people. Okay, 15 year. Okay, now in this 15 year, it's not really that ki every day is a kind of like a very happy, or every day is a kind of like a really good. No, by the way, in my friend circle, uh, we don't really have anything in common. We just kind of like a, somebody just a guys who are kind of like a living close by, and that's it. There is a nothing really kind of like a common at all. Some of the kind of like a somebody group member are kind of like a far more older. Okay, yeah, but still they are far much older, means like it's not like that we have kind of like a somebody kind of like age gap of kind of like a somebody 2 3 year, 2 3 4 year. Okay, but still we have kind of like a, we are kind of like a being friend. Okay, yeah. So basically, first of all, how it actually started. Okay, in 2011 specifically, 31st December 2010, one of my friend named Vishal, uh, he has that group. Okay, and basically the reunion like it's a kind of like a simply 31st new year party, and he was kind of like a somebody decided that he kind of like a bring me to that, to his kind of like a group, and we kind of like a celebrate the new year. And at that time I kind of like a simply became part of those uh, people. Okay, I enjoy it, kind of like a felt really good things and that. Now because of this thing we are kind of like a living very close by, so we kind of like a spend a lot of time together. Okay, obviously my the relation between me and that group was Vishal is a kind of like a somebody particular person that I connected with that group. So Vishal is a kind of like a somebody that middleman. Okay, every single time I kind of like a connected with that particular people with Vishal, because at the beginning I was not really that much known all those people. Okay, yeah. But soon after later I will become part of that group. Okay, yeah. It takes time. It takes time. Okay. And basically it took me almost like a 1 or 2 year. It was not like that. I was kind of like a trying to be a part of the group and things. It's not. It just kind of like whenever the time came, things came. We are just teenager at that time, and we are kind of like doing stupid shit. We are kind of like playing footballs. These are kind of like reasons and things and that. Okay. Now basically is this thing that one of the kind of like a biggest kind of like a some changes will gonna happen when we are kind of like doing something common thing. And what's the common thing? Playing football, playing cricket. Okay, so I was also kind of like playing football with them, playing cricket with them. Okay, and after that we kind of like a hangout. Okay, after that we are kind of like a somebody that we went to wedding together means like that na, when there is a one person have a kind of like invitation at wedding, everyone kind of like go there and kind of like spend times and things and do a lot of stupid shit. Okay, and we did a lot of stupid shit. We did like a basically is this thing. I still remember in 2014 maybe 14, yeah 2014, 2014, um 14 summer. Okay, yeah. So my kind of like a simply routine was that at that time I was kind of like doing the engineering diploma, and at that time my kind of like a something like a I have kind of like a very DC subject. Okay, so I was kind of like have a lot of backlog subject. So I was kind of like a try to fix that backlog and things. So I was kind of like simply staying at home and kind of like a do study and things and that. Okay, so in the summer, my exams are over. Semester is actually over. Okay, yeah. And then I have a kind of like a time for at least like the next semester will gonna start for kind of like a simply like probably I have kind of like a gap of almost like a 15 to 1 month. Okay, yeah. So basically is this thing what I should like basically at the time what we are supposed to do is that usually um, in the afternoon, like after I ate my kind of like a lunch, uh, all the friends are gathered at one particular person, and we are playing carom together. Okay, yeah. In entire afternoon. Okay, we play the carom. Then after that, we kind of like went to we play the carom till the entire afternoon. Then evening at 5 p.m, all kind of like a people who are kind of like a playing carom, they are kind of like a went to the ground and playing cricket or football. Okay, yeah. Then we are kind of like a playing cricket and football for 7 p.m or 7:30 or 8 p.m. After the 8 p.m we came home, kind of like a take a shower and things and that, and somebody have a kind of like invitation at the wedding. So everyone kind of like somebody ready and kind of like a go for wedding. Okay, and we just enjoy a lot. Okay. Next day is a kind of like a, then after the wedding came home, kind of like a sleep. Next day, sometime everyone have a kind of like a, someone have a kind of like a wedding, because in India summer is a kind of like a thing is that everyone kind of like a married at the summer. Okay, so someone has a kind of like invitation, everyone kind of like a goes. So basically is this thing that key in the afternoon we went to the wedding. If we don't really have a wedding, then we play carom. Okay, yeah. Okay, and basically is this thing in the evening we kind of like a play cricket or football. This is a constant. This is the things that we have to do it. And after the playing cricket and football at 7 p.m. or 7:30 p.m., if we have a wedding, then we went to the wedding. Also, we also have wedding at the evening too, so we also went to the wedding. If we don't really have wedding, then we would kind of like a gather and study on that particular person place. Yeah, study together. Okay, and we also do legitly study, by the way. It's not only that we just do time pass. We do legitly study. Okay, yeah, till almost like a 10:30. Okay, and then after that we like a, yeah, do kind of like a time pass. But I kind of like a spend a lot of time together with those people. So because of this thing, our bond makes very stronger. So the reason, the kind of like something I'm gonna tell you, the reason to make your friendship is last longer, you have to find a way to spend more time with those people. Okay, more time with those people. Sometime that time might be kind of like a somebody doing something stupid shit, but in the kind of like a, in the long run, friendship is kind of like a really help you a lot. Okay, let me tell you one thing. Okay, you might gonna think that dude, like basically my friends are kind of like a really worse and things and that. I have kind of like a my career and things and that and that. Obviously, dude, it's not really that key. No one has a career, everyone has a career. And it's not really that key kind of like a like a basically no one will kind of like earn money. Everyone will kind of like earn money by his potential and things like that and that. Okay, you will kind of like get a job, you will kind of like earn money, that is for sure. Okay, because you are born, you are kind of like listening this artifact, that means you will kind of like earn money, somewhat something less or more, but you might gonna earn money. But you might not get a happiness, because let me tell you one thing now, the happiness is closely associated with your friend. You might get happiness from your family, you might get happiness from your kind of like a somebody that office colleague, or maybe kind of like a somebody that key probably cousin or things. But let me tell you one thing now, the happiness that you get from your friends is more like a, from, okay, I'm telling you from my point of perspective. Whatever the happiness that I experience throughout my entire period of life, I'm taking as a 100% chart. From that 100% of chart, 90% of that happiness I get, and that 90% happiness I can get from my friend. 90%. Okay, ask this question to everybody who have a kind of like a friend. They have kind of like a friendship for more than 10 years. They might gonna say their entire happiness is kind of like a come from the friends. And this is what kind of like really essential, dude. Okay, because I know career is essential. I am not kind of like saying you that you drop your friends and focus on the career, or kind of like somebody that you drop your career, focus on the friend. I'm not saying it that. Okay, I don't know how it kind of like work for you. Maybe it's not really work for you, or maybe kind of like somebody, I don't know about you, I don't know about your consequences, I don't know who is exactly your friends and things and that and that. That's why I'm consider myself as a privilege, because the people I get are not that much kind of like somebody dangerous or poisonous or kind of like a toxic. No, the friends that I get is equivalent to me, equivalent to the my thought process, my mentality. It's not really that key I get kind of like such a friend who are kind of like somebody push me to the criminal activity, or kind of like doing something like a drug addict or things. Nothing really at all. Okay, also I came from kind of like somebody tier 3 city, sorry, like basically a local city, by the way. So basically we don't really have that much culture, kind of like a things and that. So I don't know, that's why I'm considering myself as a kind of like a privilege. The long story short, if you want friends, make sure that you have to be survive your friendship for at least like a more than 6 year. Okay, yeah. And make sure that 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 friendship will gonna survive more than 6 year. It will not gonna survive if you in that friendship you just have two people. Add multiple people in the group. Okay, yeah, 5 or 6 people, then higher chances that friendship will kind of like a survive for at least like a 6 year. If your friendship will gonna survive for 6 year, your friendship will gonna kind of like a stick with you for rest of the lifetime. That is true. That is true. Okay. um I'm not saying spend too much amount of time, but spend at least like a basically like a in the evening time, play football together, play tennis, bat ball, whatever it is. Play sports together. Sports is a kind of like a some things that key it connect with you to your people around you, because it's a kind of like a some community play game. Okay, so yeah, I'm not saying that ki kind of like a spend too much amount of time and things. Just play sports. Okay, yeah, this would be kind of like a much more better. Okay, I'm telling you from male point of perspective. Okay, female point of perspective, I am not trying to tell you because I don't know, because I'm not a female person. Because being female point of perspective, their friendship is very much different, and I don't know that ki how the female friendships are kind of like happening. I'm trying to tell you from male point of perspective. Okay, yeah, female point of perspective, I don't know, this advice is kind of like how much resonate with you, I'm not really sure about that. Okay. But how does it kind of like solve the problem of being alone? Well, basically is this thing that na ki alone you will kind of like experience even if you have a friend or not have a friend. It's a life. Okay, yeah. Like basically after you cross 30, you are kind of like somebody entered in such a life where you have a kind of a responsibility, and you are kind of like a fulfilling the responsibility, and in that particular period of time, time just flies away. Yeah, literally you don't really have time for yourself. You are married, you might have a kids, you have a kind of like a similar 25 lakh rupees of loan, and then kind of like a you are kind of like a spending EMI and things and that and that and that and that. Obviously you are kind of like a very busy, you are, and that is true, that is definitely true. Okay, yeah. So being alone is not a kind of like a things that came, like it's a part of life, dude. Okay, yeah, it's a part of life, you have to learn. But basically the problem is that okay, you have a time but you don't really have friends. Okay, yeah. Alone is a kind of like a things that you will kind of like a get, you will kind of like experience. Alone is a kind of like a part of the life. Okay. Even if you are kind of like a billionaire, or even if you are a rock star, you will gonna face that alone emptiness in your life. That is a kind of like a part of the life. Okay, but what I'm saying is that ki when you have free time, then obviously you have to spend that free time with your friend. Obviously some of the friends might not live close by, so probably call or things, or maybe WhatsApp group, like say a good morning, or kind of like a send a meme on the WhatsApp group would be kind of like a much more funnier, instead of kind of like a sending hi hello would be. And yeah, like I don't know, maybe is it kind of like a sort of problem, or I don't know, yeah, dude. Like basically, if I'm kind of thinking that na ki in future point of perspective, that ki uh people will kind of like a feel lot more alone in the future. I might gonna say yeah, in the future, people might gonna feel lot more alone. They might have kind of like a multiple sources, so that they might gonna connect through Instagram, through social media, through call, through whatnot. But still, that human connection will gonna detach. My only purpose is to kind of like have that connection, have that person, have that people, because basically it's this thing that ki I am consider myself privileged to have a friend. You might not have that sentence. You might think that ki you are not really privileged to have a friend, and that might be a true too. So yeah, life is all about the balance, dude. Career, relationship, friendship is all about, you have to balance everything. You cannot able to be focused on just one thing, that ki I have a career and things. Obviously everyone has it. You have, I have, everyone have their goal, ambitions and things, and that it's not really that. Just kind of like a simply that ki I'm expecting that ki happiness probably. Also um alone is a kind of like a things that he I didn't really mention. I record artifact. An artifact is a kind of like a really helping me to not to feel that much alone. Okay, because being in artifact, I kind of like a talk to myself. I express my thoughts. Okay, and because of this thing, it kind of like a really helped me to clear up my mind in every possible way. So yeah, this is also kind of like also one of the biggest reason that I might not feel that much kind of like alone and kind of like a things and that. Artifact would be a kind of like a some reason, a kind of like a some solution that kind of like a solve the alone problem. Okay, but still artifact is not. Artifact is a kind of like a things that key clear up your mind. It's not really that key, like if you are just being like a talking to yourself every single time, I don't know, yeah. Okay, like how much you could talk. Like I'm kind of like a recording for at least like a 51 minute. Oh my god, I'm recording for 51 minutes. I'm not really sure about this thing. Okay, this is what actually happened when you are kind of like a talking for yourself for 51 minutes. Whatever. I feel really good. Okay, and maybe kind of like a recorder artifact would be a kind of like a something, a solution to not to feel that alone. It worked for me. It definitely work for you too. So yeah, do it. There are so many problems. Okay, yeah. Finding a solution or complaining about things is not gonna work out. Sometimes you have to take the action, fix your mistake by yourself. This is it. I have to bend here. Thank you.